Hi, good morning. So this is just a quick beginning of the Sustainable for New Canaan Equity Action. And Linda Andros had mentioned at the last Conservation Commission meeting about what about the food bank and how we could help. So that seemed like a good equity action. So we were just getting some people together just for an initial fact finding. We'll probably have a couple more meetings because probably bring in more people once we learn more. But thanks, Bethany. And I'm sorry. So Bethany here, and Linda, you're representing St. Mark's, correct?
St. Mark's, yes, and Brian is on for the Gospel Garden.
Excellent. Thank you. Morning, Brian.
Good morning. I can barely hear you.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I think it's my computer. I'm going to talk loud. Is that better?
That's better for me. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I turned up my hearing aids too.
Okay. So Bethany, I just wanted to start with you. I just had some questions first, and Linda, please feel free to chime in. But Human Services, how many people are served in New Canaan by the food bank?
We have potentially, and they come and they go, about 150 people, which is about 80 households, ranging from one person household to 5.
Sorry, that was 150 people?
Yeah, it's about 80 individuals.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 80 households, 150 individuals.
Okay. And then the other was, sorry. Okay. And is it only at the food bank, only non-perishable food?
Yeah, this is the issue. The health department, because of the unknown cold storage from wherever the initial site is to the food pantry, it's unknown. And so in terms of cold storage, it's just, foodborne illnesses, things like that, how long it's been waiting, at the food pantry before we put it in to any type of freezer or refrigerator. So the health department, the health inspector said no more.
Oh, so we can't have refrigerators because of that.
Correct. We have nothing to, excuse me, we have, yeah. So it's a health inspector. We used to do it.
Right.
But no longer. What we do is the Gospel Garden, which Brian, Margaret, that is so beneficial during the summer because that literally is from farm to table. So we're okay. It's the day of, they pick the day of and they bring it straight across. The other thing is what we do, we work with the farmers market vendors, and every season, which was from May to October, when the Gospel Garden gets low, what we're doing now is, we've done this for 3 years. We give vouchers to the farmers market. I think, Robin, you were in on the first.
Yeah, we helped with that.
You helped, yeah. And so we continue to do that, and they get, one person household gets $100 vouchers. And then incrementally, as the number of individuals in the household go up, we incrementally raise that amount they received, and then they have until November to use those vouchers, and they're $5 vouchers. So there's no change that you get back, but the vendors do work with the families, in terms of giving them their amount.
Yeah, I remember if it was like they got a $3 item, the voucher was $5, so they tried to throw something else in or something.
Exactly. So that is how we do our vegetables and fruits and other things besides non-perishables.
Okay. All right. So I didn't realize that you could do the refrigeration. That kills something.
And I'll tell you what happened. We were a little relieved because organizations and people would drop off because St. Mark's is so open, to drop-offs of food. We put a sign, please, no perishables. They would drop off. I mean, we would walk in there sometimes on a Monday morning and there would be, soup that had been frozen and it was now thawed out. So
Oh,
the
okay.
amount of waste and the items, breads that, people had used over the weekend, and I mean, sometimes even opened, we can't, so the waste that we were throwing out, and putting in St. Mark's bins, it was, that was an issue too.
Okay, so what are some of the biggest challenges, especially I'm assuming with summer, that you guys are facing?
Actually, the summertime is better because we're getting the produce from the Gospel Garden,
Okay.
and the farmer's market program. So it's really not on the food end. It's really on the individual end, in terms of the client needing food. I mean, we have to keep it every other week. We can't be opening and closing that food pantry. So people going out of town, things like that, they'll call, they need food. Once again, we don't feed an entire family through the month. We bridge a gap between food stamps, SNAP, and the income they're receiving. So in the summertime, people go out, they go, they go to family on vacation. It's not that they're doing lavish vacations, but they're getting out of town, or the kids are going to camp. They don't have the free lunch at school. So we do give more food in the summer per distribution, to get them through. If they tell us, like, I'm not going to be their next food pantry, we try to accommodate. On the opposite side, during the winter, the weather, being able to get to the food pantry. And we do work along the school schedule. If there is no school that day because of a snowstorm, there is no food pantry that day. So a lot of people have enough food to get them through, but if they don't, they know to call us and then we can accommodate. So weather conditions in the winter, and people in town available to come to the food pantry every 2 weeks. We just don't have staffing every day, or enough individuals, enough families to legitimize, rationalize. And we don't have the volunteer base during the summer as well. That's another thing. People go out of town, the volunteers, many of them do have second homes and things like that. So the
What do
volunteers
do?
The volunteers sort, we have to make sure that the expiration dates are viable, and they sort, organize, and then the day of distribution, they pack grocery bags, and refill bins on the tables. There's a grocery list that a volunteer, when they come in, the client takes a grocery list, which is on the website. If you want to see what it is, it changes from time to time as the weather changes. We have, more soups and other winter things seasonally. So someone is packing that list that they've checked off. And then at the same time, they're going around tables that have been set up with the canned items, the bonus items. These are items that are not on the list, but people have generously donated. And or NCL does a happy birthday bag, which has cake mix, frosting, candles, plates for someone to, for a little child to have a birthday, things like that. So, and then volunteers sign people in. There's just a number of things.
Okay, and then do you see the need going up with gas prices or anything, or?
Yeah. So what happens is people come in, they start asking, here, do you have any gas cards? We need gas cards. We're not going to do a gas card program, so to speak. People do come in and donate cards. They might not be gas, it might be groceries, it might be Dunkin' Donuts, any leftover cards they have that is the full amount that they received on the card. We can give those back out. I lost my train of thought. So the gas card. Yeah, so the gas, so that what we try to do is we try to offset that if we can because of the gas going up. So this time, this last food distribution last Tuesday was, yeah, we doubled the number of people going. So they're feeling it. We can't give out gas, but maybe we can help them with an electric bill. We tell them, you qualify, come to the food pantry. You can get laundry detergent and dishwashing detergent, toothbrush, toothpaste, all these things that SNAP does not cover. So we try to accommodate, we can't constantly ask the community, now to give things, because we have programs all year where the community gives, the food pantry, the back to school program, the Christmas holiday program. We have all these things, and to ask for something else when we can accommodate in a certain way, it's a balance of give and take. And they understand. I mean, the clients are very appreciative. Robin, you're on mute.
Sorry, I've got tree people here. My dog is going insane. If there was anything you would like to see help with, not specifically from the town or maybe other organizations, obviously not being able to take refrigerator items is,
Yeah.
puts a stamp on that. What would you like to see, or what could possibly help?
We've tried some things quite a few years ago. I'm wondering if trying them again. Nutrition, education on eating better. Some people have looked at our food pantry list and said, this isn't healthy. This is why, we try to get the canned fruit in water, not syrup, things like that. We don't have potato chips. We have pretzels and tortilla chips. We try not to do the, cheese puffs, things like that, unless someone donates them. But maybe education. This is what they're choosing to eat. When we do put healthier things on, know this, they don't choose it. And we don't know, we tried to do an education. We sent out books on healthy meals on SNAP, which is SNAP formula. They have a formula, $4 per day per person. It's SNAP's formula. And to live on $4 per person per day. So, there are cookbooks on how to navigate living on that amount. So things like that, but no, there wasn't an interest, but I think finding an educational topic that would benefit them. And we've tried to have blood pressure clinics and things like that. They want to get their food and they want to get out. We have to understand the last place people want to go is a food pantry. They're so appreciative. St. Mark's makes it so user-friendly, very confidential. We have to respect and honor, and they just want to get in and get out. And they're busy. Some are working. It's not a place that people linger and want to learn something. So when you ask that question, offering more things other than food at the food pantry. During the winter, we have, a winter coat drive, and we bring the winter coats. And St. Mark's puts up with the racks that are in the hallway, but people come and they need winter coats. Their kids get bigger, they grow out of them mid-season, things like that. And people donate. People love donating. It's the most unbelievable ecosystem that we have here with this food pantry. And so we try to utilize it for other things as well, for the needs.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna jump over. Sorry, thank you so much, Bethany.
Sure.
Linda, you can chime in, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah. I was, I guess, a little very surprised. Bethany and I had a little conversation in Walter Stewart's parking lot about how restrictive the health department is with, the kind of rules and guidelines that the food pantry has to abide by. And that, there is, it sort of limits some of the opportunity. Brian, does the Gospel Garden ever have any oversupply that you're not able to distribute?
Not yet, although originally, we had, for example, we've had some changes in diet. Kale is easy to grow. It's sturdy. It lasts much better than lettuce, looks better. However, people didn't seem to be overly interested in it. But this year we've as far as I know, all the kale is gone. So the way we operate is we weigh everything that we send up. So we know that, for example, we're averaging about 2,000 pounds of fresh vegetables each year. I don't know what percentage of that is kale, but we just delivered beets. We have tomatoes getting started now, eggplants, that kind of thing. So that's how we operate. The only change that, as I mentioned, that I've seen in terms of interest was with kale, and people seem to be taking it now that they've had some experience with it.
So you never have any excess?
Not that I'm aware of, no. The only thing we would have excess would be damaged product that a chipmunk is bitten into, or a squirrel or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To help me out, Bethany, I understand that if there is any excess at the end of your evening session, you send it over to Stanford. Is that right?
So the Stanford Lower Fairfield County Food Pantry, I think Glenville Road, correct? Yes, anything. The Lower Fairfield County Food Pantry has less restrictions, and I don't know if it's because of the food inspection. The food inspector there, I have no idea, but they are able to take expired goods because the life expectancy is much longer than the canned goods, but we have to do expiration dates. So 2 or 3 months before the expiration date is done, we send it over to Lower Fairfield. If we have leftover fruits and vegetables, we disperse that. Schoolhouse apartments, they are very grateful for that. We'll send.
So deliver that? Do you deliver it to the schoolhouse apartments, or
we have the social worker there comes to pick it up?
Okay.
Peggy Fawnin.
Yeah.
Just in passing, I'm president of the board of directors over there, so I know a little bit more about them. Peggy Fawnin comes every time there's an opening, and usually picks up some excess from us directly.
So we try to give it, continue giving it to those that need it. And we never have any leftover, with the schoolhouse, and, people love it. It's the Gospel Garden, but they love it when they start seeing the produce coming in. So we really do, we utilize it. Nothing gets.
So, Brian, I know in the past, I don't know if COVID was a problem, but you would take individual, gardeners' excess, and you go to the individual homes and pick it up. And are you still doing that this year, or have you started doing it this year?
We would like to do that, and we have some connections now. Things aren't coming in except the early crops,
right?
Peas and things like that, and lettuce. The time when tomatoes, for example, people grow many more tomatoes than what they need.
Yeah, we're waiting for those.
I want to people.
I was going to say,
with taking those, like from I know Food Rescue is doing that in Greenwich and other places. There's no problem from the inspector or anything taking fresh produce, from people's homes?
We have people, Brian, in conjunction with what you're doing. I didn't know you were doing that, which is great. We have people that have called us. We have fresh eggs. That's okay, because eggs can stay out for like up to 2 weeks. So the cold storage doesn't matter. And people know from their nature center, other individual gardens, people have our food distribution dates. And if the vegetable is there, and we set up the night before, the day before, or late afternoon, we set that up. If we see vegetables the next morning, we know they haven't been refrigerated. You know, they were picked and dropped off. That's totally allowed.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah.
It's-
There's
So-
a pretty good sized network of people around town that are
Yeah.
growing stuff. And it's a matter of, do they know what to do? And, you know, we do it just as individuals, people from the parish or friends from other places. But I'm not aware of any organized effort to get this stuff. Now it's nice to hear that you've got some things there, Bethany.
Yeah, and the schools, I think South School or East School, you know, they're trying to do a garden, you know, things like that, the projects. And as long as, you know, we know that it's coming in, and we see it the day of distribution. So it hasn't been refrigerated. You can tell when something's been refrigerated and it's
Mhm.
fresh out of the garden. So we're yeah, that's fine.
So
Okay.
this donation from individual households is really word of mouth, that people know about it in the community. Do you think?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least I'm sort of itemizing things that people, you know, to raise awareness of needs, and that, you know, general consumers or general households just don't know and would like to know. And I know you, I mean, you do a lot of, as far as trying to get the word out, but there's always more that possibly could be done. I don't know how you feel, Robin, about that.
No, that's what this is. So that would be perfect. And then just
And I
a
was
quick
thinking
question, Brian.
I was thinking about the food, the waste that Bethany was talking about going into the St. Mark's bins. I wonder how much of that goes into our food scrap program. You know, be sure that that gets to the right place.
Mhm. Yeah, Margaret Roscoe, who's running the garden now, she's the front man sort of on it, had put together a program called Gospel Garden Givers. And she's very well connected to people in the community. And she had a fairly good network of people who were giving. And, you know, it kind of went slack due to COVID, along with everything else. And I would expect that as the season continues on, we would have more. Fact is, oh, sorry.
No, I have the application for the grant, you know, since I'm the chair of the grants commission, that they used to have a fresh egg delivery program. Did they deliver the eggs or did the people bring their eggs in? I wasn't sure about that.
Oh,
For
yeah.
gospel.
Oh, yeah. Well, we weren't getting very much. It was more symbolic than anything else. We'd get a half a dozen or a dozen eggs and they would drop them off. There was a lady here in town who had bought some chickens. And I think, I haven't heard anything from her. She's from St. Mark's. I think her chickens got eaten by a bear at one point. So no more eggs, of course.
Yeah.
The bear messed that one up. But, you know, it would be interesting if we could, I'm sure that we could find money to take care of a chicken coop. And, you know, if eggs are of interest, and if we can find somebody who's willing to put up with the chickens, I'm sure we could find money somewhere to do that, and it would be a good steady supply.
So
And
would St. Mark's have that on? Would St. Mark's have that on their property? Sorry, Brian. Would St. Mark's take that on their?
We have
property?
we have at St. Mark's, we have acres of land we could put chickens on. We could run beef cattle, there's sheep, there's all kinds of stuff that can be done. The problem is it costs money. Very few people are willing to, to take care of chickens in any quantity. Some sort of a grant that would help so we could have a high school student come by, open the coop in the morning, pick up the egg, that kind of thing. It wouldn't be overly expensive. It's just a matter of
Finding the
getting
volunteer.
somebody and getting the money,
Yeah, we dealt with
Right.
this, the nature center as well. You
Yeah.
need somebody to manage your volunteers. But they are there. They're out there. There are people who are interested. It's just a matter of connecting and managing them.
And then the other thing is they really rarely produce eggs, during the cold season.
Right.
So it is seasonal, just
Yeah.
like a garden. It is seasonal. So you're taking care, of the chickens. I just seen it at the nature center. It is hard in the winter. It's hard in the winter taking care of chickens, or any animals.
Any
a-
animal.
Yeah.
So that has to be, it is really a labor of love when it comes down to the weather conditions. Also.
Mhm.
John,
Yeah, but years
I
ago,
visited
we had chickens.
Elementary school.
Robin, there's feedback
Yeah.
on, I'm getting
Our
feedback.
elementary school variant
Can't
feedback
understand.
for me.
Is everybody experiencing the same problem with Robin?
Yeah.
You-
Can't
you're-
hear, yeah.
We can't quite hear.
Is it not?
Yeah, no.
Hold on. Okay. Is that better?
No.
No.
Every word is just like dragged out.
Maybe you have to log off and sign back in. That's happened to me before, and when I stopped and then came back in, it helped.
I think maybe she's off.
Oh, she's making me the host. Oh dear. I don't know.
Okay, we'll get you through it.
All right. Okay, well, one of the questions I had too was Meals on Wheels. Brian, do you have any relationship with that?
Yep.
Robin, if you're there, maybe go on your phone or.
But so Brian, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yeah.
So does the Gospel Garden have any relation, or the food pantry relationship with Meals on Wheels?
Sorry, back on now.
No.
Robin,
Yeah,
it's not working at all. I think you need to log off whatever you're on and to log on through another device. I don't think changing hosts, it's your connection.
Hi, John, who are you? I'm Bethany. I don't know. Who's this?
I'm one of the members of the committee.
Got it. Okay, nice to meet you. And I see Haley from Food Rescue.
I
Okay.
had a couple questions. First of all, on the frozen issue with the health department saying no, I'm wondering if it's worth having a conclave and try to find a way to get to yes, since other health departments seem to get to yes on certain
Yeah.
COVID items. what's the problem? How do we fix the issue? Rather than just sort of taking the no and walking away, I just sort of, I don't know, just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I got to believe there's some way to get to yes, or at least we can make a college try to get to yes, because especially frozen items, if you can just put them directly in a chest freezer, which are cheap to buy and cheap to run, tend to work pretty well. I have that. I would also make the point on nutrition. This is a personal bugaboo with me, is that I see so many of the foods, again, I'm going to call them junk foods, and they belong shelf life because they are junk foods. And I just don't see that as providing nutrition, because ultimately, I mean, my own sense is that finding calories is less of a challenge than finding nutrition and having nutritious food, and including fiber, proper balance of vitamins and so forth. And many people have no clue how to cook, in my view, even the simplest things. And so having something to maybe try again on, put in each of the bags, you have sort of recipe of the week that's cheap and easy and nutritious and tasty, might be something to do, because as you say, they just want to grab and go. This way it's right in the bag, and maybe we'll get some traction there.
We've done that, and then after we put them in the bags, then we put them out because we want to see who's taking them. At the sign-in table, nobody takes them. So there are issues. Yes, we do bring this back every now and then, and that's why the education to us is important. Going on SNAP and food insecurity, things like that. There's so much research. I'm trying to educate those people that do qualify for SNAP and what they actually buy. And there's free will. We were losing food pantry clients. We have tried to change. We used to have a much longer list of items. And so we do, I don't know if you were on the conversation, we've changed. There's no chips, we do the pretzels instead of the chips, and the Cheetos and things like that. The kids' snacks are all, granola bars. I know they're high in sugar, but this is what the people are eating. And we were losing clients. And the important thing was, when we brought back the items, the people came back, and it's a real balance in terms of you want them to eat, you want them, to come to the food pantry, and we had a decline in people coming. But I agree. And if you go on SNAP or CDC and read all this, trying to get nutrition into people that have food insecurity, it's very difficult. They want a full stomach. Yeah, it's a nationwide issue, and we try. It's salsa. We have salsa with tortilla chips or pretzels to try to get some tomatoes, get some vegetables in there. But I do look at the SNAP. I look at the research being done, and that's why we add some of the things that we find out that are more nutritious but still give a full stomach. I totally agree with you. And that was one of the things telling Robin when she asked her, Linda, what can you do? Education, and getting people to understand the importance of it.
When you lose clients, where do they go?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I know person to person, once a month, you can go to person. We work with them, and our clientele, our town, well, any town for person to person, they will go there. They will go to their faith-based community. They do that in conjunction with, even if they don't come, if they do come to the food pantry, they're still utilizing Lower Fairfield County Food Bank. And we have to have those same things that they have there.
Okay. And then Brian, sorry, because I want to move on to food rescue so Haley can get going. Just one quick question about the Gospel Garden. Does the town help in any way? I think they deliver compost.
That's right. Yes, they've been very helpful to us. All we have to do is dial over to the folks over at the town, and we get a truckload of composted material. Usually we do it just about once a year. Otherwise, they are very willing to help us. We just put in some retaining walls, and they brought more soil over to fill behind the retaining walls, and they had equipment, what have you. So that was, yes, the answer is yes. They're very helpful.
Great, thank you.
Can
And
I-
then,
Oh,
sorry, Haley from Food Rescue, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here and I see Lainey here too. So we both are happy
great.
to answer your questions.
Laney's there too. So sorry, because you guys wanted to get you guys going. Just want to know more about Food Rescue. What does Food Rescue deliver to New Canaan Food Bank?
No, and actually, Bethany, it's very nice to see your face because
Yeah.
I owe you a phone call as well. So we do not have New Canaan Food Pantry on our schedule because of the obstacles that Bethany had mentioned about and our format. So we really look for somebody who can accept food on a weekly basis, someone at a minimum, and most of the food that we handle are going to be perishable items. So the requirement to have those perishable items on the day of distribution is somewhat challenging for us to accommodate. Unfortunately, but Bethany, and we can talk about this later.
Sure.
I do have an opportunity for a non-perishable donation every other week. So that's the phone call. We'll chat another time. Lainey, you are very familiar with New Canaan. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's exactly the case. We'd love to, we do look for opportunities, but we're limited by exactly what Haley said.
yeah. I am, John, to your question, I am, I will go back to the health department to see if any leniency, has risen out of a need, that we do have possibility of receiving freezer items. The other issue is we use the freezer for Acme. They used to give us all this meat that they were throwing in the dumpster. And that's what we used it for. And that was an absolute, when the food inspector found out we were doing that, it closed during COVID when Acme stopped doing it. And Jen Eilson, the director, said, absolutely not. You never should have been doing that. The cold storage, things like that. I mean, the way we would get it from Acme to the food pantry was not within code.
But what about isn't there an act, a federal act that allows for donated food? Does that not include?
Yeah, that includes it, but Acme's no longer giving it out, but they give non-perishables. Absolutely. They do food drives and things like that. And they've always done it. Acme's been really, and Walter Stewart's, we don't have a problem. I know a lot of grocery stores and chains were saying, we don't want to give anything out in case someone gets food poisoning, we're going to be liable, blah, blah, blah. So then that act was passed just recently, like last month or two, where they will not, food services, food distribution sites will not be responsible if they do give out food for free, perishables, non-perishables. We don't have that problem in New Canaan. They do give it to us.
I remember this issue with hunters. I remember deer hunters where
Yes.
many people who hunt say, I want a few choice pieces and the
Yep.
rest, I'll be happy to grind it up and give it away. Just take it. And many food pantries said, no, we can't do it because it's a wild animal and you processed it in your backyard. We can't do that. And they said, well, I'm giving you 50 pounds of
Exactly.
healthy meat, venison burgers, which I eat. What's the problem? They found a way around that. I would be happy to join you with that conversation. Robin may want to also with the health department, because this strikes me as low-hanging fruit and there's got to be a solution.
Yeah.
I just would like to reopen the conversation.
So from my understanding, the bill in question that you're referencing is the Bill Emerson Food Donation Act. And so that was passed in the 90s that covers the liability for the donor and the nonprofit agency who distributes that food, so long as the food is held in the proper storage capacity, transferred in the proper storage capacity. So what I'm hearing from the food inspector isn't necessarily issues with the liability, his issue is not with the donation. It sounds like his issue, or their issue, excuse me, is with the storage. But I'm as shocked as you all are, because we work with, a variety of pantries. We handle meats, and sometimes meats, dairy, everything perishable. So I think it's interesting. I'd be interested to learn more as to like what the specific deciding factors are on their end.
Especially if best
Say that
practice,
again, Lenny.
especially if the meat was frozen. Best practices is to freeze the meat. I could understand the health inspector objecting if the meat was not frozen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was some of the issues. Some of the meat was not frozen. They put it in between frozen. It's in terms of a lot of control on the other end that we don't have any control of. And then like I said before, we had frozen soup being dropped off. And this is where our issue comes in. These are volunteers helping. I can't have, we don't have to say a volunteer between 11 and 1, someone's going to be coming and dropping off. No one has that time to accept the food and get it immediately into the freezer and things like that. So that's why Acme was good. But then we were getting food that they would look in the freezer and they would pile in the non-frozen because the expiration was the next day. And so they just put it in there in between the frozen, thinking that was enough cold storage. And this is a volunteer based, and we just for people to be to then take the meat and put it in the freezer and decide, was this frozen enough or this is thawing out? Acme would keep the food, the freezer food in a lot of carts and then just leave it up front. And then the town would pick up the frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it'd been sitting there. And
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, okay.
it's just, so that was the food inspector's issue. Like, we don't know the cold storage in terms of, we know what you're supposed to follow, but it's not being followed, and not from your end, but you're taking food and giving it away. And it's just, there's foodborne illnesses when, I know, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But let me pick it up with
I worked in the pantry person to person. And of course, Bethany, you and I spoke about this. I don't know what their current practices are, but I mean, the other food rescue people here, Lainey and et cetera, probably know because they work with other food pantries. But, the expiration dates weren't an issue for canned goods. They did take directly, fresh produce and meat from Palmer's. There was also, so I just, it's just perplexing that we have.
Well, the thing is, person to person is every day. They have,
Yeah.
their food pantry is open
And they have volunteers every day.
every day. And it's every other Tuesday from 8 to 9 in the morning and 6 to 7 at night.
We need more volunteers.
Well, that was the problem with the Gospel Garden. We have tomatoes come due on Monday and we can't deliver them because it's a week from then, that kind of thing. So we did start to take stuff down to person, and it's worked very well. John mentioned earlier, low-hanging fruit, one of which is apples in the fall. I happen to know there's an estate in the north end of town, which must have 10 large apple trees. I drove by there one day, they're falling off the tree, onto the ground. I sent them a postcard and asked them if they would be willing to donate to the food pantry. And, oh, yes, but we have other people we donate to. There's dozens of apple trees all over town. I also noted that the Nature Center has a cider press. I checked with the Nature Center, this a couple of years ago, and they said, well, these town inspectors don't allow us to process apples to make apple cider. We make it for our own people. John, if you want to put on your list of things to check into, see if we can find a way to take care of these apples.
And my other thing is, we checked into that, Brian, and this is what's important, is from the health department.
Yeah.
Some people spray their apples with an ornamental spray. So, and what it does is it stops the being able to be food quality.
Yeah.
And so we have to know what you're spraying with.
Sure.
It is, yeah. So that's another thing. They want to keep their apple trees looking beautiful, but they use commercial spray that is not food appropriate.
Yeah.
That's
No, for example, we have
Yeah.
half a dozen apple trees over at St. Mark's. They're starting now to come in. Yes, you have to spray them, but there's organic sprays and, that are approved. Any apple you eat has been sprayed a dozen times. But anyway, if you're looking for something, John, to talk about, you might want to consider that.
Yeah, with apples, it's also, you got to pick the things because you don't want to have windfalls because they fall on the ground, and which means you need labor. And often, given these are traditional apple trees, they are larger, they're standard, which means you need a ladder and all that. And so there are logistics involved in just collecting the apples, and you need some fairly large bins to put the stuff in. If you have a big old apple tree, they generate a lot of fruit.
Well, John, I just don't need a debate on this particular matter, but I usually get 3 or 4 kids in the fall, and we go over to a member of the parish's house and pick apples. We go only for low-hanging fruit.
I hear you.
All kids, But anyway, it's something that churches, for example, could get involved in with youth groups to go out and pick apples, and you don't have to get all the apples from a tall tree. You get the ones that are there. But the big thing is, how do we deal with it from the point of view of the health department?
Yeah, public health, and that's the thing. And they're under state mandates. So I don't know, if there's let me talk to Jen, and maybe we can have a meeting, getting together. I know Chris is the food inspector over there. Let me see what, if we can set something up, and I can get in touch with you. Who should I get in touch with? Linda, Robin, who?
That would be great. That would be the next for
Yeah.
the equity action. That would be great.
Yeah.
And so if that could be our next meeting, actually, because that seems to be the barrier to a lot of these things. So I think if reach out to me and we'll set that up as the next meeting. If it's over Zoom, it seems like that's probably just easier for people.
Okay.
I did just want to ask a couple more questions to Food Rescue since you guys are here, because I know everyone wants to get on with their day. But just, I wanted to ask real quick, how many restaurants do you pick up from in New Canaan?
So I can triple check what that answer is, but regularly, sorry, my dogs are barking. Regularly in New Canaan, we only pick up from Walter Stewart's, and that's every day of the week. We partner with some restaurants for special programs that we're not necessarily going to be doing much more often in the future, where we would purchase meals that would then get donated. But really, restaurants are a tricky rescue style donor. Especially right now, they really, cook to order. So it's not like they'd necessarily have excess at the end of their day. Also, the end of their day is like not necessarily when we would want to pick up food or when pantries would be open to receiving that food.
Right.
So restaurants are a tricky thing. There are certain kinds of restaurants where it does really lend itself better to our model, somewhere that would maybe pre-package meals to go, prepared items, like salad bar items. We could take salad bar items so long as they don't hit the salad bar. So if like the macaroni salad is kept in the back kitchen, and never made it out to the bar, then we would be able to rescue that. But the macaroni salad that's been scooped out for people, we would not be able to rescue. Bread items we could rescue from restaurants, although, bread is, besides like snack foods, bread is like the last thing that pantries really need. I'm sure Bethany would agree with me on that one. So we have
Okay.
relationships, but not necessarily rescuing regularly.
We rest from Elm Restaurant for about 5 years, I would say, before they stopped that. And that food used to go to Open Door Shelter. But as Haley said, it's the it's the availability, the packing, the timing, the transporting. Even if a restaurant has food, they'd have to pack it up to go. They don't necessarily want to pack it up to go, and they give it to their employees.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So food rescues started with a lot of restaurant rescues. Chefs were into it, but they found the logistics hard. And we found it was better to send a volunteer to Trader Joe's. The use of the volunteer's time and what they would get from a food store was much more productive. And so that's where we focused our efforts.
And you guys pick up, it's not food, but you guys pick up flowers as well. I know you donated to Staying Put in the past, and I think Waveney Care Center as well, right?
Yeah, we pick up flowers when we have space and the volunteer has interest. We don't, also because they're gonna go in a landfill too.
Right.
So definitely we pick up flowers. We don't advertise that too much. And if they didn't go to one of those agencies, they are welcome at places like Person to Person, where they'll give them out with the food.
And just to clarify, we're not picking up flowers from like a florist. We're picking up the excess flowers from Trader Joe's. So our volunteers are already going for the food. And that's
Right.
that's part of the donation.
Kind of a left over.
I'm sure Meals on Wheels would take that too in terms of their deliveries.
Okay,
Maybe
so-
you've already checked. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think they should be included in these conversations.
Yeah. All right, Linda, do you want to, so this is just a first meeting, and thank you so much, because actually I learned a lot. But want to add anything?
No, I think this is terrific. I've learned a lot too. I just feel that more people need to know what we just heard.
Right.
And something about getting more people to know in the other towns where we're doing similar programs as to what we've all talked about in this past hour, we try to partner with things that people are already going to. So what we call our Grow a Row programs are at farms or farmers markets during specific hours that people are shopping at those markets. So that's your built-in advertising right there. And I can speak, again, that's a separate conversation, but I'm happy to speak with you about what we've done in other towns.
Yeah, you're having individual as well, in Greenwich and Westport, right? Drop off.
Westport and Easton.
Westport and Easton, what they grow in their home. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And Bethany, can if we advertise, but you guys only distribute once every 2 weeks.
Exactly. And so they can contact us, and we can try to set something up. But with right now, supply and demand are good. What would happen is if we get too much of something, then we call Lower Fairfield. And
Okay.
they're amazing. They come and pick up, and it's great. I have to be respectful of the volunteers. We're in the summertime. We're down to a skeleton crew, just enough to come to the distributions. So that being said, more work for volunteers because it is volunteer based. It would take some setting up and on their end, some acceptance of taking on something if it's going to be a lot more. But if it's just like taking food and we have too much of it and we're constantly taking it to Lower Fairfield Food Bank, then it should be going directly to there. If to become a middleman, I just don't have the volunteer base.
Yeah.
If-
So there are
would
a
it
lot of logistics that would need to be carefully managed to make.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. I mean, the food pantry is one of the most, the greatest, one of the strongest programs we have here from both ends, the client end and the community end. And I got to be careful I don't tip it.
Sure.
And then what we're doing, we're just becoming a food middleman and getting it over to someone else that needs it.
Sure.
We
Of
just
course.
can't do it.
Of course.
Yeah, so, but those are, like the word is logistics. I don't know, a couple of you, you've all said the word, it's logistics and the feasibility. But more than happy to further the discussion. Absolutely.
If there was a fund put together, this may be silly, but that paid for someone to help maybe a college student or a high school student during the summers, would the town be able?
We have looked into paying a volunteer, like our head volunteer has given thousands and thousands of hours for years. We can't pay her because of the code. We can only pay, or not pay, we can only give someone maximum $50 gift. We can't pay a volunteer. And through the years, it's been discussed, this is a volunteer-based program and it'll always be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Okay.
and the people that donate the money, I mean, we try to keep about $60,000 in our food pantry. That gives us 4 distributions, which would be 2 months worth of food. Just like COVID, when we had to buy it, we went broke. But Community Foundation and the community, we reached out to them and we have gotten it up to that again. But we have to maintain, and it can't go to payment for employees. It has to go, which is right. It's the people's donation. So we have to keep it at a definite food donation, in which we do buy, items, non-food as well, that SNAP doesn't cover. The laundry detergent and things like toothbrush, toothpaste, unless people donate it. A lot of people have food drives and we add that to the list.
The Gospel Garden does hire a couple kids in the summer. And our boss there, Margaret Roscoe, seems to have an unlimited supply of young people available to do stuff. If you decide you want to have
Did we lose?
Oh, you froze. Oh, is it me?
No, it's froze
No,
on me too. Come back.
Brian, you're back.
Oh, okay. I was nattering on there. What
With the
did I?
boy, so you have
Volunteers.
Margaret. Yeah, it has a lot of
Margaret.
volunteers.
Yeah, she has volunteers.
Yeah. And, we pay the kids minimum wage. They're usually fairly young. And in our case, it works very well. And maybe some other, some way to put that together in a different manner might be useful to you.
Yeah, so I was wondering, Bethany, if someone were to organize a separate fund to pay, let's say, students to help run, so there's more hours, would that be something, or is that just, once again,
We cannot do it through the town because then they would go on our payroll. Like we cannot pay them. If
Yeah.
some other group wanted to do that. The other
Right.
thing is the confidentiality. We do not have anybody high school or below involved in the food pantry. Because of confidentiality, children at school seeing other kids that do utilize the food pantry, families. There's that aspect too.
okay,
So that's why the volunteers, a lot of moms say, oh, I'm going to bring my little, my little middle schooler and they can learn about it. They can't. And that is, to protect the privacy
right.
of these clients. So to have kids involved too, it's tricky. Yeah, I am sorry for all these barriers.
I know.
Yeah, and there's a reason for them,
Yeah.
but I know.
So I would say the next meeting we should have, let's rope in Jen to understand why it is and what we could possibly do and why more is allowed in other areas. And also, Linda, bring in Meals on Wheels. But, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and now Meals on Wheels is run through Waveney. Everything has to be, certified, things like that.
Right.
Waveney receives, I know that's been looked into before, and Waveney can't take food in and then use it in their food processing area. So
Okay.
it's all, mandated, and Meals on Wheels is, the nationwide organization, and they have their protocols that they
Okay.
have to abide by. And they only have one set meal. People said, well, I need lower salt diet than that, or I'm vegan, or I'm this. No, you get what you get because of the whole system.
Okay.
Should we even invite them then? Bethany?
They are so directed by state and Waveney.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
It's
We'll just keep it.
yeah, it is a menu that is planned weeks in advance.
Right.
And there's
right.
nothing spur of the moment, except flowers. I know they would do flowers. We give them, a little wreath or something in the winter, to give with the meal, but it's nothing food oriented. It's all regulated.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
yeah.
Yeah. you
Please,
do.
please let me know about the next meeting. If I can be of any assistance, I'd love to do it. So,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Brian.
Robin, I have a question. What committee is this? So when I talk to Jen,
So it's the sustainability team. What it is for Sustainable Connecticut recertification, we need to have 3 equity actions that show us working or just even having meetings to understand the needs of
okay,
every town. So this would fall under it.
okay. So is this a deliverable, so to speak, for a grant, or is this like
No,
you just
so-
want to get not just, but you're looking for reader certification?
Right. We do, though, because we're part of Sustainable Connecticut, we do have access to matching grants.
Yes.
So like when talking about the chicken coops at St. Mark's,
Yeah.
we could do that. The grants we've worked for before was for the food scraps, for the native trees at Waveney, for pollinator gardens at Bristow.
So we were able to get a matching grant. And from the pollinator pathway, all of these things work together to get, yes, it's money. It's about getting resources.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It will lead to something, even if it's just raising the awareness somehow so that there are more donations of the appropriate donations to the food pantry.
Mm-hmm.
So for an example, Bethany, is our first equity action was the farmers market during the pandemic, where we thought seniors wanted rides there. And then we learned from the meetings that seniors and from surveys did not want rides. They just wanted to know how it worked because they found it confusing with all the check-ins, and they said they were.
Yeah.
So that's what these meetings are really for, to try to find out and see how we can help.
And that's interesting you say that. Just a sideline, we were given we were told that there was needed in New Canaan a divorce support group. So through, Jackie found the church, found the counselors, the therapists. We did it through New Canaan Human Services, things like that. We've had it for a month. Not one person has shown up. So it's like when you say, oh gosh, here's a need, you set it up, and it's like,
Well, set it up. We had the meeting and people were like, no, that's not what we want.
Okay.
This, and we were completely wrong.
So, but it's great to get out there and do these things. So I'm all for trying these things out and having an exploratory discovery period, and we'll see.
Excellent. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.